Hey everybody, Kyle Goethe here from GoatFilmReviews.com and the Goat Film Reviews YouTube channel. And we've got a big episode of Movie Haul today. Guys, this show did not end in October of 2023. We just merely went on a hiatus. I guess I should take a moment to I don't need to explain, but I feel like I should explain. I feel like I'm comfortable explaining. October onward last year was awful. 2023 was one of the worst years of my life. In general, just with like events hitting, financial stress, health stress. If it could go wrong last year, it went wrong last year. And even like I was even finding out things throughout the beginning of 2024 that took place in 2023 that I wasn't aware of that made me just hate the year even more. You know, Suffice to say, it all came to a head in October because my cat Spike, who you've seen in a number of videos, he usually pops in for a couple of head boops and he tries to put his butt in the camera. He got diabetes. He got really sick. We took him to the hospital. We almost lost him that week in October. He spent a week in the vet. It was an extremely expensive vet visit, but my cats are my kids. You know, I don't have children. It's me, my wife, and our cats. And it was an awful experience. 5 days of not knowing if he was going to come home. He came home. We got him comfortable on insulin. We worked hard at getting his health, back on track and his weight back on track. And for about 7 weeks, things went pretty fine. And then he started getting sick again. And he went through a second round of diabetic ketoacidosis. And we just knew he could not recover from that. So we made the decision to put him to sleep. And it was freaking awful. It was an awful end to the year. I work from home. 5 days a week. I mean, I work 7 days a week, but at least 5 of those days are in this house. My cats are like my coworkers during those days. Like, they're always checking in on me. They're always hanging out in my office while I'm working. They're interacting with me. There's someone I can bounce ideas off of. You know, I can talk to them and kind of just like get my ideas out in the forefront. And it was terrible. I mean, it was truly, truly awful. It felt like losing a member of my family. I mean, he was a member of my family, and it felt like just losing him and watching him go through this horrible sickness. He never had great health, but we always just kind of hoped that we could get the most time we could out of him. And suffice it to say, I didn't do a lot of stuff near the tail end of last year. I did as much as I could work-wise because it kept me busy, but there was just things that fell by the wayside, and things like movie hauls were one of those things. It's one of my favorite things to do on this channel because I just love physical media so much. If you've been to my house, a few of the people who watch this show have actually been inside my movie room and have seen that. It's something I'm very, very proud of. It's something I'm very, very excited to talk about. I love praising physical media. And not being able to do that was just, I just didn't have the energy to just go on. I loved writing about horror films on 31 Days of Horror. I had to cancel the end of last year's 31 Days of Horror because I felt I would get that spark back when Spike got back from the hospital the first time. And I did. There was a couple kind of later additions to it. I was trying to get that 31 days done, but I only got about halfway through. And when he passed away, I didn't want to watch I didn't want to watch movies. I was watching stuff I was required to watch. And there were some real great gems that I watched that lifted my spirit a little bit. But I just had no forward drive to write as much about movies at the time. I just wanted to have movies as like my safety blanket. So 31 Days of Horror will be back this year, and we're gonna do a big kind of return to form for that. And movie hauls. We're gonna do a big one today because we are going to cover November of 2023 all the way through March. We're gonna cover 5 months today. We're gonna get all of March, all the way caught up through March. It's gonna be a long video. It's gonna be less organized than I'd like it to be. I'll try to keep things, generally speaking, pretty organized as we go through like sections of things I ordered. But we're gonna be covering Black Friday and holiday deals. And again, I will say when I get stressed, I shop. So last year at the end of the year, the one thing I had going for me was I was so heavily indebted with vet bills that buying a couple of movies here and there didn't seem like that much worse. So I just did it. Like, and it took me, probably a month or two to kind of just like dig myself back out of there. And so I did that, and then there was like Christmas gifts I got from people and gift cards that I always go and spend on movies. So this is what we're going to cover today. We're going to go through it. It's going to be a long video. Settle in if you're a fan of these kinds of things. Let me know the things that you bought this year, or the things that maybe you picked up during these various sales. And I'd love to engage with you guys. Honestly, it brings joy to my heart to talk with my viewers and to engage with them. So thank you for watching for the past couple of years. We're going to keep this train rolling in 2024 because it's one of the things that I feel has made difficult times in my past better. So that's enough of the schmaltzy talk, though. We're going to get right into it because I feel like if I keep talking about the schmaltzy stuff, I might get teary-eyed. So let's break it down. We're going to talk about this stuff. I'll try to keep things as organized as I can, but, forgive me. We'll just start with Best Buy got rid of a ton of their physical media in late 2023, early 2024. So there was things just heavily discounted, and I ended up just going a little hog wild on stuff because it's one of the major places to get your physical media, and now it's gone. So first up, That 70s Show. We got the complete series on Blu-ray. I've owned That 70s Show like a season or two that were given to me by friends. I've rarely ever watched the show, but my wife was a big fan of the show. I believe so. I believe she really liked it. I picked it up because it was super cheap for the 8 seasons, and I had like 2 or 3 random seasons of it, and I was like, I'm not going to go and hunt down the other seasons on DVD. Let's just get the Blu-ray. It's like $20. So I got that one. I can't really speak much to it. This one I'm excited for, though. I did get the Community, the complete series on Blu-ray as well. I've had the series on DVD, but I love this show so much that I thought, for a pretty cheap little price, I would just get the Blu-ray collection. I'm a little nervous just because, I don't know, does this need to be in high definition? I'm not 100% certain that it does, but I have it in high definition. I love the show. It's one of my favorite shows ever. I think if I was putting together a top 10, at least top 10 comedies or half-hour shows, I would definitely put this in that list. But maybe even top 10 of all time. I mean, it's probably my 3rd favorite comedy series ever. Maybe second by now. I love the show. Up next, we have a 4K of Ghost in the Shell. This is the original 90s anime film. I've never seen it before. I actually had a digital version of this that was kind of crummy. I think it was like a full screen stretched version of the film and not a great quality of it. It was just a digital version I had purchased from one of the online retailers for pretty cheap and just never got around to watching it then. But I saw this 4K and I just was like, whoa, obviously I'm going to have to get that. Let's see here. Let's go with, 4K of The Polar Express. This is definitely a movie, having watched it, I did not need to upgrade to 4K. I had this on DVD initially. I just bought the 4K. I've been kind of upgrading when there's good deals, as a lot of these Best Buy ones were. This movie does not look that much better in 4K because the uncanny valley of the animation was never that great to begin with. It's a yearly watch in our homes, so naturally I picked it up because it's going to be on rotation for years in my home, and I thought just get the best version of it. But this movie, it's a little bit nightmare fuel in 4K. So if you have the DVD of it, or the Blu-ray, I don't know if there was on Blu-ray, but if you have the not 4K version you're looking to upgrade, I don't think you need to, but I did. Let's see here. My second favorite movie from last year, the 4K of Barbie. I loved Barbie. I thought this movie was so much fun. I thought the way in which it looked at societal issues through a classic adventure story. I love the inspirational viewpoint from America Ferrera's character. I thought everybody was really funny. I thought Ryan Gosling steals the show for me, and maybe it's because I'm a dude, so I connected with the dude. I don't know, but I thought he was fantastic in the film. This is just a delightful movie, and it's kind of like when I think of movies like Paddington, when I think of movies like the recent Wonka that came out. I will also think of movies like Barbie because they put a smile on my face the entire time I was watching it. I adored this movie. The studio sent me the screenplay, and so I had a chance to even read the screenplay. Really good screenplay as well. Fun fact, they listed the characters in the screenplay with the actors' names. So it was Barbie Margot, and it was Ken Ryan whenever they were speaking. So, all right, let's see here. Another upgrade. This is now my third copy of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. I had it on DVD, I had it on Blu-ray, and now I've got it on 4K in pretty quick succession. I think it was just DVD like a year and a half ago, and I just double upgraded in. These are mistakes I make. I make them so you don't have to. But this is a delightful 4K presentation of this movie, a very well put together 4K presentation that I definitely think is worth having if you love this movie. And this is, without a doubt, like, it's the movie that I feel like I have to watch the night before Thanksgiving. If I've ever spoken about this, I'll mention it real quick. Thanksgiving, we watch this movie the night before because on Thanksgiving Day, we drink cheap wine and we watch Roadhouse. Okay? That's what happens. We watch Roadhouse on Thanksgiving while we cook the turkey. And then we usually coast into what I call Hanksgiving, which is Tom Hanks films. It's just a thing I've done for many years now. But as soon as I saw Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, it entered into that conversation of movies I just had to watch. Another fun thing about this one is it actually has a Lost Luggage Blu-ray that has the original special features from the previous release, but it also has a ton of deleted and extended scenes. Some people don't know, there was a cut of this movie, as all movies usually end up having longer cuts, there was a cut of this movie that was 4 hours long. The runtime of this one is 92 minutes. So there was a 4-hour cut of this film that they cut a ton of stuff out just to make it more feasible. And you know, who knows, it probably wouldn't have been a good 4-hour movie, but it's cool to have those extended and unearthed scenes, I guess. Okay, let's see here. We have ourselves a Blu-ray of the Banshees of Inisherin. Definitely, it's weird saying this, but I have all of Martin McDonagh's feature films. And this would be my third favorite of the four. I would say I love In Bruges the most. And I quite liked Three Billboards, and then this would come in just above Psycho's, what is it, Seven Psychopaths. Yes. Banshees is very good, though. The thing is, all four of his movies are good. Three of his movies are great, and the other two are just that like next level. And especially In Bruges, I think is one of the best written films ever made. So Banshees of Inisherin, though, is a very good movie. I don't fully connect with the story that's being told. It doesn't drive me in like In Bruges did or like Three Billboards did. But it's such a dark comedy, weird, unusual relationship film that rewatching it early in the year did put a smile on my face. So, all right, up next we have the very, very peculiar The Menu. Is this a horror movie? I don't know if The Menu is a horror movie. It's definitely got horrific elements to it, but it's just such a weird comedy kind of, black comedy, much like Banshees. It's a peculiar movie, and so that's why it's kind of outside of genre. I think of it as a horror movie. I'll probably watch it during like the Halloween season. But if you like said to me like I don't find it to be a horror movie, I can also buy that too. It's such a peculiar film. Mark Mylod directed it. I love pretty much everything Anya Taylor-Joy is in, except for the Playmobil movie. Did you know she voiced a character in the Playmobil movie? Ooh, rough times. Ray Fiennes is great in this. Nicholas Hoult is great. Our new Lex Luthor is in this movie with our Voldemort. All right. We also got a Blu-ray of Insidious: The Red Door. I was surprised how much I liked this movie because it got really scathing reviews upon release. Not like the best Insidious film by far, but I feel like it's a solid enough finale to the story. It does retread the same, bits and pieces of the first couple, but I still found it to be a, tight and peculiar little mythology-based film. I like how it closes the story. Maybe one that we didn't need reclosed, but it does close the story again, catching up with the characters 10 years down the road. Giving Dalton an actual bit more character stuff to do. And I think it kind of adds a bit more to Patrick Wilson's character. He directed the film, but he was kind of shuttered for the second film because he was possessed, throughout that entire film. And so, like, he didn't really get to do anything really fun in that film other than just act crazy. So, fun to see him in this film and fun to see him directing. I don't think it's a stellar first directing feat, but it's definitely not bad for a first-time director. All right, let's see here. We also have It's a Wonderful Life on 4K. I actually just recently, last year I think, watched this film. Might have been the year before, but this has the remastered black and white version as well as a Blu-ray disc of the colorized version as well. I don't ever see a reason to watch the colorized version, so that didn't bother me that it was on the Blu-ray instead of the 4K. But my preferred version is the black and white version because it just looks better. I actually saw this for the first time all the way through in like April of last year because first time, when Christmas comes, you kind of cozy up with your classics, the films you grew up with. I watch Christmas Vacation, and we do Krampus. We always have to do Krampus around that time of year. I think my wife grew up with Christmas Story, but I hadn't seen this all the way through. So you never really get the chance to watch that stuff during Christmas. So I made time and watched it in April. I really liked the movie, and I can't wait to see it again this coming Christmas. I also got a 4K of Space Jam, a movie that looks remarkably solid in 4K. I thought this would be a case like Polar Express, where it was just going to be like way too much definition for a movie that's visually not as impressive as it used to be. But I like the original Space Jam. It's definitely a mess. Like when we talk about how bad Space Jam 2 is, this movie's not great either. It's not an extreme, like a downright classic. It's just one I grew up with, and I get a little bit of nostalgic kick. I also think, again, what this movie accomplishes in 87 minutes versus the sequel, which took like 2 hours and doesn't accomplish, that's where the big thing comes from this one, is that it's got a tighter runtime. It is a more fluid, natural story, and I think Michael Jordan has a lot of great charisma. So it's just a fun movie to watch, and I do love the Looney Tunes. I'm actually a person who really prefers Looney Tunes Back in Action, the Joe Dante hybrid film, and I gotta say, of all the things that Warner Brothers has done that piss like fans off, people who wanted to see Batgirl and stuff, my big one would be Coyote versus Acme. I'm heartbroken that we're not going to see Coyote versus Acme. Got a 4K here of Reservoir Dogs. This is another movie that I had to own on DVD and on Blu-ray. Ever since I watched this movie, I've been fascinated with it. I saw it just a few days after I saw Pulp Fiction, so it didn't have the same impact that Pulp Fiction had on me, because I think that's more of a swing. But it's just such a tight, one location play with a couple actors spending time in a garage and just talking, and it's some of the most cinematic discussions that really outlines the characters. I really love Reservoir Dogs. Maybe it's not the top of my Tarantino-ness, but there's not one of his movies I dislike. And so again, just like Martin McDonagh, it's a range of movies I think that are great to movies that I absolutely unabashedly love, and this is definitely in the love category. One that's not so much in the love category, I'm honestly not sure why I keep buying it, is The Fifth Element. I've never been a huge fan of The Fifth Element. My wife likes The Fifth Element. Maybe I buy it for her. I tend to use excuses. Like, I'm going to buy this movie because my wife likes it, and she's probably never going to ever watch this copy. She'll watch it on streaming somewhere. She doesn't give a shit. But I have it now. I think it's a cool looking movie. I think it's probably a little too long. I think it's probably a little too goofy. My brother-in-law loves The Fifth Element. I believe he does. Maybe I'm speaking on his behalf. Sorry, Pat. My brother-in-law probably loves The Fifth Element, though. Okay, we got a kind of a double whammy here. This might have been something I presented last. I didn't get a chance to rewatch the October one, but this came on November 2nd. So we have Justified, the complete series. This is all 6 seasons of the show. The original airing on FX. I watched the first year and a half of this, and I just fell off because it was college that I was in, and I just got too busy, and I just couldn't keep up with the show. This was back when Hulu would only have the last 5 episodes. So if you just didn't catch up for like a month, that show was past you at this point, and you weren't going to get back to it. So wanted to get back into it because I really loved the stuff that I'd seen in the first season. I like Elmore Leonard's characters. I like pretty much anything based on an Elmore Leonard novel is usually solid to me. So I was excited about Justified. I really like Timothy Olyphant's Raylan Givens and what he does with that. I also picked up the Blu-ray of Justified City Primeval Season 1. So this is the spin-off continuation that just aired last year. This is the Blu-ray. So it wasn't included in that set, but this new set came along. So I wanted to pick it up. I like Justified enough that I was willing to jump in and see what happens. So remember I mentioned Barbie was my second favorite movie of the year? It's because in December, I didn't get a chance to write a review about it, but I just adored a new movie in December that I saw so much that it just instantly made my number one, and it stayed that way for the rest of the year. And that was Nicolas Cage in Dream Scenario. This just hit Blu-ray maybe a week or two ago. This is one of the last things I bought before recording this video. I love this movie. I think it is a near perfect. No movie is absolutely 100% perfect, but I have no flaws with this movie whatsoever. And I think what it executes so well. Quick plot synopsis. It's this boring schlub of a professor who finds out that he's appearing in people's dreams all across the world. People that know him, people that don't know him. He's not doing anything. He's just standing there while they're having a normal dream or a normal, situation. And so people don't know why he's doing this, but he becomes overnight celebrity. And he doesn't know how to handle celebrity because he's kind of a schlub. And there's twists and turns beyond that. I won't get in it anymore because I fear that I may overgive information, but Dream Scenario is an absolute delight. They take that simple premise and they run with it to the nth degree. They cover everything they possibly could cover with that kind of a premise, and it's awesome. I love Dream Scenario. Here's another movie from my top 10 of last year. It was nominated for Best Picture, and that is The Holdovers. Great holiday classic, or new holiday classic in my mind. This will definitely get some playing in my rotation during Christmas. Kind of like It's a Wonderful Life. You know, I think I saw this one in like early November, and even though it was kind of still some distance away from Christmas, it gave me those Christmas vibes. It gave me those holiday vibes. Paul Giamatti is amazing in this movie. Davine Joy Randolph, I'm sorry, I've said it wrong before. Davine Joy Randolph is wonderful as the supporting actress in the film. She definitely deserved the Oscar win that she got this year. This movie is one of those. It's weird because it's kind of dour, it's kind of narcissistic, it's kind of pessimistic. It's a movie that looks at the holiday season with such a drab and sad eye, and yet at the same time it was very comfort foodish. I'm a big fan of Nebraska from the same director. Why am I blanking on his name? Alexander Payne. I'm a big fan of Alexander Payne's Nebraska. It was a movie that completely won me over. And I've been looking for that kind of feeling again, and he definitely captured it here with The Holdovers. Okay. Up next here we have a big box set, a complete series, if you will. This is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think this is the 2012 television series. So I have the complete original series, which was the late 80s to early 90s. I've got all 10 seasons of that series currently. I didn't watch any of the 03 stuff, the reboot one. But this was the 2012 series that aired on Nickelodeon. It is 124 episodes, 5 seasons. I was looking online. I was going to end up just ordering like these little like 1-disc packs, but it was just like I wanted the series. Like, stop selling me 5 episodes in a disc, you know. So I found this one super cheap at a Target and just picked it up because even though I've only watched the first 10, 15 episodes of the show, I thought it was good enough to check out the rest of it, and I want to see how it plays out. So maybe it was a big stupid thing to purchase, but I'm a huge fan of the Ninja Turtles, and even the worst stuff that's come out with the Ninja Turtles, things like Turtles in Time, that third film, the Michael Bay films are not great, but I love the Ninja Turtles so much that I find some joy in them, even though I don't entirely think that the weak ones are worthy of that joy. Up next on our list, we've got the Mad Max Anthology on 4K. This is all 4 original films. Not original, I guess all 4 films, because Furiosa's not out yet. I don't believe this comes with the black and white version of Fury Road. I was hoping it would, but it was hard to read on the back and get any information about it, but I don't think it came with the black and white version, which is too bad, because that would have been a nice inclusion if it's the anthology collection, the whole thing. But I digress. Big fan of 3 of the Mad Max films. I'm not huge on the original one, but I'm a big fan of 2, 3, and 4. Had to have these for my own personal collection. I already had the Blu-rays in a weird, like, tin. It had this, like, aluminum tin kind of a thing that held them. And then we have the 3D copy of Mad Max Fury Road as well. But sad to report, my 3D TV officially had pixel damage and went out. So my 3D collection will stop at this point, I guess. And I'm going to hold on to them just in case it comes back because they don't take up that much space. But time to move on and start upgrading to 4K on a few of these. All right, up next, like I said, this was all done during the holidays. There was a ton of Christmas-related holiday movies. So you saw some like It's a Wonderful Life. Here's another one, How the Grinch Stole Christmas on 4K. Previously, I had a DVD of the film, but this is another one of my staples. This movie gets a lot of hate. I've never understood the hate for this film. I've never understood the hate for Mike Myers as the Cat in the Hat. Well, I understand the hate for that one more. I tend to like it because I like Mike Myers a lot. I like Jim Carrey a lot. I think him as the Grinch is very funny. There's some really great... You can tell the moments where he just mined the material. And it's just so crazy that the guy could live in that thick, disgusting makeup appliance every single day and yet create comedy gold still. How the Grinch Stole Christmas on 4K is definitely one of the regular rotations in my home. All right, up next we have it says the Jurassic World 5-film collection. I wish they would stop rebranding it as though it's Jurassic World. It's Jurassic Park. The sequels are called Jurassic World, but it's Jurassic Park. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. This actually sits in a special spot on my shelf. I've got some old Jurassic Park action figures, as well as a Funko Pop of Jeff Goldblum laying on his side without his shirt on. That is where my Jurassic Park and World films go. I already have Dominion on 4K, so I thought, well, I don't need to like shell out the extra money to get the 6-film collection on 4K. I believe I had the 5th one as well, but there was no 4-pack. Regardless, I think Jurassic Park, the original film, is very likely, if you were to hold a gun to my head and say, name Steven Spielberg's best film, I would say Jurassic Park. I don't know that I could even muster up anything else to come close to it. I love Indiana Jones. I love a lot of what Spielberg's done, but Jurassic Park is a life-affirming film. When I watch it, I am swept away on the sense of adventure. Fun fact, I used to be terrified of this movie. I love dinosaurs, but they were so realistic in the movie that I actually had to, when I was being babysat by my neighbor when I was growing up, he said, we're going to stay up and we're going to watch this. We're going to order pizza, we're going to watch this movie and get to the end. And I will forever remember what he did for me because he created a core memory, I guess. All right. Get Out on 4K. Previously had the Blu-ray disc, but figured I'd upgrade that one for the price. Probably Jordan Peele's best movie, although I think I still technically prefer the somewhat more flawed Us. But every time I watch Get Out, I love it more. So maybe that's changed. Maybe I need to revisit Us and really see if it holds up, because I really liked Get Out when I first saw it. And then I saw it again and I loved it. And I saw it again and I loved it even more. We did an episode of Kyle and Nick on Film where we covered Get Out. And yeah, watching it that time too was just like, no, it's a damn good movie. It's a really fantastic film. Tight runtime, doesn't overstay its welcome, but nominated for Best Picture. I mean, can you do much better? All right, up next we have the Blu-ray of The Stand from 2021. I believe this is 2021 when it started airing. Rough time for this to come out because it's about a global pandemic that kills off 99% of the world. Not a great time for it to release, but I adore the book. It's probably my favorite book, The Stand. This version of it I don't think is as strong as Mick Garris's, but it does try some different things, and I'm all for a unique take on it because Mick Garris's 4-part miniseries is a straightforward adaptation, and I think this one adapts some of the elements that were in the extended version, able to elaborate more. It is like 10 hours as opposed to, or I guess 8.5 hours as opposed to 6 hours, so there's more time to breathe. I still prefer Mick Garris's, but it's pretty solid all the same. All right, up next we have a 4K of The Hunger Games. I probably should have waited and got a box set of the 4 of them, or maybe the 5 with that new one out. But this was inexpensive, and like I said, Best Buy was getting rid of their 4Ks, so I just leapt at the chance to get some cheap 4Ks while they're available. Right now it's kind of, I don't want to say it's like the Wild West, it's kind of like, it's almost like a reverse Wild West, because used to be that you could get your hands on a ton of these kinds of things intermittently, but now it's like these places are stopping selling them. And honestly, if I can hold it in my hand and not have to order it, because I'll tell you right now, there's a bunch of movies I have that I bought discounted prices. They showed up, the boxes might have been dented, the little like plastic case for the 4K is cracked, and it's like, when I reached out to try and replace them, they were sold out because they were such a good deal. What was I supposed to do? So it's frustrating, but at the same time, the collection is about the movies, and if there's a little bit of damage to the box, it's unfortunate, but the movie is the most important element. All right, up next here we have Saw X. This is one I've been meaning to revisit because I really, really liked it. I'm a huge Saw fan. I'm a big fan of things moving forward as opposed to back, and that may have been the thing that kind of took me out of this one. But generally speaking, it's a damn good Saw movie. Like, I can't really fault the movie. I want to watch it in context with the original one again, because it does take place right after the first film. And I've been meaning to get a rewatch of that in anyway. So, yeah. Saw X, a huge fan of the film. I think it's probably, ranking them as bestestness, it's probably up there, either the top 2 or 3 Saw films ever. It's a very, very good Saw installment. Not going to win over people that didn't... Well, actually, that's true. It might actually win over some people who didn't like the convoluted plots of the later Saw films. But as far as, like, the blood and gore, it's pretty graphic, too. So if you're not a fan of that, this one's not going to be like, oh, but I can handle it. All right, up next we have the 4K Steelbook of Army of Darkness. It's still kind of the wrapping, but from Scream Factory. I think I got this one again. Best Buy closing down their physical media, and I have certain tiers where when something dips below that monetary price, it's like, oh, adding it to the collection. Army of Darkness hit that during the kind of final sale that they had at Best Buy. Army of Darkness is probably my favorite Evil Dead movie. I would need to do a big rewatch again to know for certain, but it's probably my favorite one. Man, that show was really damn good too. Oh, should have been more than 3 seasons. All right, Pumpkinhead on 4K. I think this is another, Scream Factory one. It's the Steelbook. I'm not like one of those guys that goes out to get Steelbooks, but they're cool when you do get them occasionally. Like, I think more often than not, I do tend to like the Steelbook look, but it's not something I'm going to spend extra money for or go out of my way to upgrade a 4K movie to a 4K Steelbook. Because again, as I mentioned earlier, it's the film that's important to me. It's the best version of the film that I can see. Either the best cut or the best presentation. 4K being a big win for me. So yeah, really dig this one. It's kind of sad to see the exclusive Steelbook packaging sticker from Best Buy on there. Just because, it's gone now. That's over. So maybe it's a collector's item. Who knows? All right. I think I can go here. I had this sent to me. It was Jordan Peele's new version of The Twilight Zone. So this is the 2 seasons of The Twilight Zone that were hosted for Paramount Plus. I think they featured some remakes of episodes and some new version or new tales as well, hosted by Jordan Peele. The cast is incredible on this because I think it aired on Paramount Plus when they were just shoveling money in. And yeah, I haven't got a chance to watch it, but I figured I had the original Twilight Zone. I am in the process of acquiring the 80s Twilight Zone. Why not? One more, right? We didn't get a chance to watch it when it aired, so... All right, up next, probably the dumbest movie of last year that's in my collection, and that is Fast X. Fast 9 is a movie that I vehemently struggled with because it's not a good movie at all. And I always said the moment you try to get these idiots into space is the moment you lose me. I know it's weird, but there is certain thing of like the stupid good line, It's kind of like what is that on How I Met Your Mother? They have the crazy hot line. This is the stupid entertaining line that goes up, and I feel like the more stupid that they got with the Fast and the Furious films, the entertainment value is still there. And I think when they went to space, they crossed the stupid line, where it was just too stupid to be entertaining. Fast X is a bit of a course correction. It's still not... Like, there's still elements of it that I really get frustrated by. Like, for as unrealistic as these movies have gotten, simple scenes bothered the hell out of me. Like, Alan Ritchson and Brie Larson standing in that giant open room, and the panel screens are coming up, and they're in this, like... And it's like this futuristic government agency that I just... Yeah, the unreality of that actually took me out of the movie. So those are things that frustrated me, but at least they didn't go to space, so it was a step in the right direction. I am interested in seeing how the story comes to an end. It's kind of that thing where I've liked or loved a good number of the films in this series. I'm here till the end because I feel like they're getting close to it. So I want to see how it all ends off. King Kong ain't got nothing on him. Here is Training Day. This is the WB 100th anniversary 4K. It's not a steelbook, but it's got that gloss to it. This is a really nice, it's weird to say, it's a really nice cardboard slipcover. Probably one of the best cardboard slipcovers I've had. It feels sturdy, as opposed to flimsy. And I don't know if that means anything at all, but a very, very good movie. We watched this for Kyle and Nick on film, and I had the DVD of the Blu-ray, and I thought, you know what, let's upgrade that one. It's definitely worth owning. I'm still going to be having that damn DVD because it came in a pack with Fallen from Denzel Washington. So I got a video I'm going to be doing later on about confusing organization in your movie rooms. Up next, here we are. Up next, a movie that I'm not super big on, but I've owned previous versions of it, and I can't honestly tell you that this was a good purchase for me because it's Elf, starring Will Ferrell. I'm a Will Ferrell fan, and this movie never really has worked for me ever. I don't really know why I keep upgrading my copies of it, but yeah, I really have no excuse. It's not a movie that I particularly love. It's not a movie that has to be in my holiday rotation, but it's a movie that I consistently own. And and I do give it a try every couple of years, and I find some enjoyment in it. But I feel like the whimsy doesn't hit me in that way. Here's another Christmas movie that I personally am not giant on, but my wife grew up watching A Christmas Story, so we upgraded that to 4K as well. This is a movie similar to Get Out, but Get Out was a movie I liked the first time I watched it. I hated A Christmas Story the first time I watched it. The next time, I didn't like it. The next time, it was okay. And that's kind of how I felt about a lot of this movie. I like a lot of the dad stuff. I think the dad things in the movie are really funny. I'm not as big on Ralphie's story, so the bulk of the movie. But I am, yeah, it's a movie that I don't mind watching. And it's one I got for my wife because I think she likes having that in our rotation during the holiday season. So, get what you can from there. All right, up next, a movie that needs no excuse for why it's in my collection, Casablanca. I think it was what version? The 70th version? I think the 70th anniversary Blu-ray was the one I had. And I think we just passed the 80th anniversary of this film a couple years back, so this would probably be the 80th anniversary edition of the film. I've only seen it once for an episode of Kyle and Nick on Film. You can find that over on the channel there. And I found myself loving this movie. It does have that effect. It does still win you over. And it's hard when you watch a movie that's considered by so many people as being one of the greatest films of all time. It's hard because you go into it with those raised expectations. And so you have to be able to pull back and say, for me, it doesn't need to be the greatest movie I've ever seen. You have to tell yourself that, because I found that when I try to praise movies that I love that are considered in that bracket, things like Citizen Kane, which I adore, I've had people watch it and say, eh. And the problem is that it's just been raised up so much that you have to kind of avoid that. So, yeah. Up next here we have Cool Hand Luke. I always confused Cool Hand Luke and The Hustler until I watched The Hustler, and now I know the difference because Cool Hand Luke is the prison one and The Hustler is the pool one. I've still never seen Cool Hand Luke, but I will rectify that because, again, 100th anniversary, super inexpensive 4K. Warner Brothers is a company that I love so many movies that Warner Brothers puts out, but I get frustrated by their ability to cut costs in a way where, for example, every Warner Brothers film now has a code redemption listed on their digital copy. This one is 2025, but I also personally don't trust that they're going to stick that out until that time period. So when I buy a Warner Brothers movie, I have to immediately open it so that I can avoid having my digital copies taken from me while it sits on a shelf waiting to be watched. It's a silly thing, but I've also had digital copies not in the box, and they didn't do anything about it. They just said, tough luck. I've had versions where I bought the movie and the disc wasn't in the box, and they said, tough luck. And I get it's hard to prove that a disc isn't in the box. But that's just what it is, and it frustrates the hell out of me because I love a lot of their movies. Here's another one. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, 4K release for that. Again, as much for the movie as prep for Wonka and to replace my really awful Blu-ray edition of this film. That box was destroyed to pieces. I don't really know what happened to it, but, it is what it is. Here's a movie that I'm curious about more than I'm excited to watch, because this is a movie that has been flawed because of what it did back when it did it. It's kind of like Breakfast at Tiffany's where they had Mr. Unioshi, and it was just that really rough Asian-faced caricature done by Mickey Rooney. This one here is Holiday Inn, a Christmas classic. This is the 4K edition of the film. I believe it was remade as White Christmas. And this is the movie that, of course, the film that was remade into White Christmas. But it also features a really rough-looking blackface sequence. I think even on the special features it says Reassessing Abraham. Film scholars and historians discuss the Abraham scene's origins and context for contemporary audiences. I'm going to watch the movie. I'm going to view it on its own merits outside of that. But then it's going to influence how I review the film, because I had the same problem with something like Trading Places, where I said the blackface used at the end of that film had no narrative necessity. I can't think of any movie where using blackface or whiteface or Asian face any of that. I can't think of it where it would be necessary to the plot of the film to include it. But it's really frustrating when it has no reason whatsoever to even be in the conversation. Um, and I think that's the frustrating thing about it, is that this movie just doesn't need that scene. I can't think of a movie. No movie that I can think of needs that scene. So why is it in there? That's the frustrating part about it. All right, we also have The Grinch on 4K. This is the Benedict Cumberbatch one. This is actually directed by Scott Mosier, who is Kevin Smith's producing partner. That's really weird. But I really like The Grinch. I think The Grinch is actually quite good. There are 3 great versions of The Grinch, and I probably watch 2 to 3 of them every single year for the holidays. This is a movie I owned on Blu-ray, and then I bought the 4K of it and finally watched it on 4K. Edge of Tomorrow, or Live, Die, Repeat. I go by Edge of Tomorrow. That was the title that I heard for it. I own this movie the year it came out. I sat on the Blu-ray of it for years and years. I finally got the 4K, and then I said, I can't pass this up. I now have to watch the 4K. I cannot wait any longer. All right. And I quite liked Edge of Tomorrow. Let's see. We got a DC movie here. DC's Batman: The Doom That Came to Gotham. This is it's a Cthulhu Lovecraftian take on Batman, I believe. Outside of any canonicalness, it stands on its own. I like these unique takes on Batman. I don't think they always work. Like Soul of the Dragon, the Kung Fu one, 70s style one, it was okay. Could have been better. But I really like the interesting takes that they have had. I find them to be fascinating and a lot of fun just for a Batman fan. There's Batman versus Ninja Turtles. And I think that's one of the best Batman movies ever and one of the best Ninja Turtles movies ever. All right, we continue to move on. Let's jump over to Dunkirk, 4K, another upgrade film. Christopher Nolan's movies always look fantastic. They always sound fantastic, even though they usually sound a little too loud. Very excited to dig into the 4K of this film. I actually got a lot of Christopher Nolan stuff. We'll probably cover more of it as we go through here, but I upgraded a lot of Nolan films this time around. Strangely, still couldn't find a 4K of The Prestige, which is his best movie, but we'll get there one day. No one's perfect. Okay, so then we have the 4Ks of Godzilla 2014. There's another upgrade from Blu-ray, as well as a 4K of Kong Skull Island. Both upgrades from Blu-ray. I have the other 2 films in the Monsterverse in 4K already, so figured it was a good idea to upgrade on both of those. I love Kong Skull Island. I think it's my favorite one. Godzilla 2014 is probably my least favorite one because I feel like they do the hiding the shark from Jaws kind of a thing. I don't think works nearly as well with Godzilla as it did with the shark. They're not mutually exclusive. Here's E.T. on 4K, and here's another case where, again, if you look at the inside of the binding right there, you can see the bottom part of this has this really busted up plastic where it's warped. There's also damage on the 4K part of the case, where you can feel it kind of squinch. That's what I'm talking about when I say ordered online, then they were out of stock and I was kind of screwed. So, Beetlejuice on 4K. It'll be fun to revisit that one with an upgrade from Blu-ray with the second one coming out. Beetlejuice is a movie that was one of those ones that did scare me as a kid because I watched the cartoon so much that I assumed Beetlejuice was supposed to be the good guy, and it really shocked me that he wasn't. Doctor Strangelove on 4K. I saw this for the first time last year. We did a thing on Kylanick on Film for our Patreon where we discussed 5 films that we've never seen before, and the 5 that we think we would most like, or the 5 we feel like we should have watched by now. And that was one of the choices I had, and then our next month we went ahead and watched all 5 of them and then re-ranked them, which I thought was a really fun little thing. I would probably do that again. Up next, The Green Mile. While Shawshank Redemption is probably Frank Darabont's best Stephen King adaptation, The Green Mile is a very close second. It's a terrific film. I actually have all 3 of his Stephen King adaptations on 4K now, and all fantastic. Peter Jackson's King Kong, the Ultimate Edition in 4K. So this is both theatrical and extended cuts. I do think the extended cut flows a little bit better, which is interesting because it's 12 minutes longer, but that's kind of how it happens sometimes. Let's see. We have Serenity on 4K. Big fan of the Firefly TV series. Serenity I had on DVD, but felt it was a good time to upgrade it with the sale going on. Is this Vinegar Syndrome? Vinegar Syndrome. Vinegar Syndrome, Ticks. So, fun fact about Ticks, and another movie that we'll probably be talking about soon, probably in the stack. I think I saw Ticks when I was younger, and I think this movie bothered me a lot. I feel like it might have given me that long, like, fear of ticks that I have. I'm pretty sure I've seen this one, but it's really hard for me to tell for certain. I just when I saw this and I saw Seth Green on it, and I saw a number of the people involved. There's some imagery that I saw when I looked it up online. I'm pretty sure I've seen Ticks before, but I had to get this one because I've mentioned before the story of me discovering Terror Vision and realizing that it was the movie I had watched when I was a kid 20 years earlier, and I could never figure out what that movie is called because I missed the first 5 minutes of it on Sci-Fi when it was airing. Looked for it for years, couldn't find it. I eventually just purchased Terror Vision because it was a Shout Factory release and realized, oh my god, I've seen this before. I'm hoping that might be the case with Ticks. Also upgraded Bram Stoker's Dracula, the Francis Ford Coppola directed film. It's crazy. If you didn't have Francis Ford Coppola making Apocalypse Now and Godfather trilogy, you could say easily that this would be a good enough film to be able to hang your hat and say, I've done a good deed. It's a wonderful, gothic, drippy, gooey movie that I love. Most of it was done in camera. Maybe all of it was done in camera. So much of that movie was done in camera. When you look at the shot composition, it's really wild how they were able to accomplish that. We have American Psycho right here, the 4K. It's not the Shout Factory one, but it is the 4K edition of that film. I really like American Psycho. It was a movie I watched when I was a teenager with a bunch of friends, and it just kind of catered on from there. We got a rare DVD in this whole thing. This is 4 film favorites from Warner Brothers, the White House collection. So this has My Fellow Americans, The American President, Dave, and Wag the Dog. I bought this for My Fellow Americans. My dad liked that movie quite a bit when we were younger. We recorded it off HBO. That was the big deal for that one. Just haven't seen it in many years. Thought I would give it another try, and then I've heard good things about the other 3 movies, so it wasn't too bad of a thing to get them in a pack together for pretty cheap. Here was our Stephen King acquisition from last year, The Boogeyman. Not as good as I had hoped. The Boogeyman is my favorite short story of King's. One of my favorite short stories ever. I think it's still delightful is a weird term. It's disturbing, and it really stuck with me when I read it. I read it as a teenager, and it just stayed with me. The Boogeyman adds a lot more, this film version does, and rearranges some events and very much changes what it is. But it works well enough, and I think the use of the light ball thing was kind of fun. Watched it a couple times. I dig it. I did have an experience where I actually left the theater and got my money back seeing Boogeyman because there was kids making so much noise and causing so much mischief in the theater and running in and out and like. So I eventually just said, screw it, I'm leaving. I can't even tell what this movie is. I've been 15, 20 minutes in. I don't know that I've heard a single word off the film. So I went back the next week and saw it. Another DVD for the set here. This is a 2-pack from Warner Brothers. This is It, but not the It you're thinking of, and The Shuttered Room. So I have those books. I think you've seen them on the channel before. The horror movie books about, like, these giant picture books that I hunted down for years to get copies of it. I think it's like the Monster Treasury or the Horror Treasury. I had 2 books that come in. One was a horror one that had a skeleton face, and the other one was a vampire one with Christopher Lee on the front. I know that the skeleton face one is a book I used to rent from the library when I was like 5 years old. And I found out when I was reading the books finally, actually like as an adult able to read them, beginning to completely understand them, not just as a 5-year-old like really liking the pictures. It is a movie that was in that set, and there are images from this film that were in that book. Those images from the book haunted me, so I'm curious to check out the film. It's also Roddy McDowall and Jill Hayworth, and you can't stream it right now. So that's why I purchased it, because I was worried if you can't stream it right now, sooner or later the DVD is going to be out of print, and then I'm really going to be in trouble. The Shuttered Room I know nothing about, but it came with it! Exclamation point. All right, we've got some Osorio coming up here. We've got the Synapse Films release of Tombs of the Blind Dead. We also have the follow-up Return of the Evil Dead from Blue Underground. And we have another Blue Underground, The Ghost Galleon. I'm not sure why they have such drastically different titles, but I saw the original Tombs of the Blind Dead a year or 2 ago, and I really, really liked it. The style was just wild and creepy looking. I like the Knights Templar thing that they're going with there. I think the movie is a mixed bag, but I think that the villains are so memorable that they make that film worth it. And I really wanted to see the other 3 films in the series, so I picked up 2 and 3, and I'll get 4, but just it wasn't in the cards. All right, up next we have John Carpenter's The Thing on 4K, upgrade from a DVD pack that I had a while ago. I love The Thing. It's crazy. Most people have it as their second or first favorite. It's probably my third favorite Carpenter behind In the Mouth of Madness and Halloween. So I also got Scarface on 4K. This is an upgrade from my Blu-ray Steelbook, but I'm going to be keeping the Blu-ray Steelbook because that Steelbook also came with a copy of the 30s Scarface. Schindler's List on 4K because punishment, right? This is a movie that I had the DVD for it, but I can't honestly tell you that I've watched all the way through. We watched bits and pieces of this film in every history class I ever took. It was always like the day when like the teacher didn't want to teach, he'd pull out Schindler's List and show it to us. And I feel like maybe I've seen the whole film in bits and pieces, but never in one sitting. When we had the DVD, we started watching it one night. We got really tired. We're like, we'll finish tomorrow. And then tomorrow never really came. So I did get the 4K with the intention that I will sit and watch Schindler's List all the way to the end and make sure that whether or not I've seen it, I've seen it. Up next from our friends at Mill Creek Entertainment. I like Mill Creek. Sci-Fi from the Vault. This is 4 films. The funny thing is I didn't realize I already had 2 of them, but again, I will explain one day the confusion of not having a good alphabetical listing when you have sci-fi films from the vault on the spine. 20 Million Miles to Earth, which I have. Creature with the Atom Brain, which I have an Arrow release of. It Came from Beneath the Sea, and the 30-Foot Bride of Candy Rock. It was a super cheap pack for those ones and on Blu-ray, and I was like, I'll give that a go. I'm willing to risk it enough for those films because it seems like they'd be a lot of fun. I also got the 4K of Jaws. I've actually been recently working my way through the Jaws sequels. I'd seen Jaws 2 before, but I watched it again about a month or 2 ago, and I watched Jaws 3 probably last month, and I think Jaws 4 will probably be next month. So I'm looking forward to checking out Jaws the Revenge, and then probably just immediately jumping into the original film so I can wash the taste from my mouth. Hellboy 2, The Golden Army. I prefer this to the original. I really dig that one. It's one of my favorite Del Toro films, and on 4K. Why not upgrade it? The Shining. A couple reasons why I'm really happy to have this edition, because the previous version of The Shining I had was in a King of Horror pack, and so it was hard to find because I could never remember what the name of the pack was. But like, where else are you going to put it when the spine on the side says Kings of Horror? So it'd be nice to have this actually on the shelf in the Shining spot. But yeah, The Shining is fantastic. Who could say anything bad about The Shining? All right, got a couple of these films I want to cover all at once because they were part of the buy time at Best Buy. So they are all Disney 100 steelbooks, and I'll explain the thing about them in a second. So we got Toy Story. This is a 4K release. We have Moana, 4K release. We have the original Cinderella, 4K release. Yeah, I hate these steelbooks. I hate them. These are ugly steelbooks. Don't release just silver, flashy steelbooks for your movies with a bad image on the front. And then, like, what, it's got a boot because there's a snake in his boot. Or, like, Moana's got, like, a conch shell on the back. And it's like, did the graphic designer just take the day off? Or the week because they made a bunch of those? I got these for the movie so that they'd be in 4K. I didn't get them for the steelbooks. Let's see. All right, up next we have the Indiana Jones, the 4-movie collection. The 5-movie collection, I haven't seen any news about that. Maybe I missed it, but I just said, you know what, screw it. I'm going to get the 4-movie collection. I'll get the 5th one when it comes out. I still haven't gotten around to getting the 5th one, but I will get Dial of Destiny and add it to the collection because I like all 5 of the films. I love 2 or 3 of them, but I like all 5 of the Indiana Jones films. All right, Casino. For the longest time, it was my favorite Scorsese film. It's not anymore, and you'll actually see my favorite one somewhere in the stacks that we're getting to. But Casino used to be my favorite. I love Pesci and De Niro working together on that film. I think Sharon Stone's great. I think James Woods is so slimy in that movie. It's fantastic. Animal House. This has been, in my mind, my favorite comedy of all time. It's definitely not PC anymore. When people say you couldn't make that movie today, I tell them this is probably one where I think like you wouldn't be able to make it on the same level today. Um, and I don't know that you should. It's definitely a problematic comedy, but I grew up with watching it from the age I was 4 until an adult. So I just got used to watching it. I got used to just laughing through the non PC stuff, and then yeah, it's one of those things. I don't think if you've seen that movie before that you would think of it on the same level I would. If you've never seen Animal House, I don't think you can be swayed anymore. The Lost Boys on 4K. Really nice little 4K set. I like that cover art. Let's see. Ralph Breaks the Internet on 4K. I much prefer Ralph Breaks the Internet to Wreck-It Ralph. I'm not a huge fan of Wreck-It Ralph. I kind of felt like it became the Vanellope movie when they spent all that time in the candy area. Wreck-It Ralph, or Ralph Breaks the Internet, I think is a far, far and away better film. Let's see. All right. Got Nightbreed. This is the Scream Factory Blu-ray. The reason why I didn't get the 4K is because the 4K release of this, it had both cuts, but the director's cut, which is the version I was interested in checking out, was on Blu-ray still. And I was like, well, that's probably the version I'll watch more often is the director's cut. So why would I spend more money to get the same box and have a 4K of a version I won't watch as often? It really pisses me off that Scream Factory does that, because they don't advertise it on the main like front of it, so you get like swayed into like, oh, it has both versions, great. And then you find out that like, and we didn't go that far with the other cut. They did that with Life Force. I bought that one on 4K. The director's cut of Life Force is better in my mind, so I watched that one more, but it's on the Blu-ray disc. It's frustrating. I got a little double feature Adam Sandler here, Mr. Deeds and Big Daddy. There were 2 DVDs. I just thought I'd upgrade. I like them both. We have a Scream Factory, The Fog. I mean, what else? Again, another movie that I think maybe even above The Thing. So maybe The Thing is 4 now. I don't know. Like, I love The Fog. I think The Fog is a movie that is infinitely better every single time I watch it. I can't say anything bad about that movie because I just adore The Fog. Then we have the Warlock trilogy. Rest in peace, Julian Sands. I think I've seen the first Warlock. I think I have. I don't know for certain, but I think I have. Steve Miner directed the original. This is 2 and 3 as well. Warlock 2, The Armageddon, and Warlock 3, The End of Innocence. It's Vestron Video. They do really great releases that are usually inexpensive for some of their more cult films. All right. When I heard that David Soul had passed away, I knew I had to get this one, and that was the complete series of Starsky and Hutch. This is all 4 seasons of the show. It's kind of a show that's harder to stream the whole series, so I thought, I better get this while I still can. It's from our friends at Mill Creek Entertainment, and so like probably not a ton of special features on there, but I grew up with Starsky and Hutch being something that very much interested me. I even liked the movie that came out in '04, I think it was. Starsky and Hutch and Miami Vice were like, those were the cop shows that I watched. Yeah, so I mentioned Ticks on 4K. This one I know I've seen. Mosquito on Blu-ray. I don't know that I think it's a good movie, but again, there's a scene where the mosquito like sucks all the like juices out of a guy that haunted my dreams. It's burned in my memory. It's on there's like a very like small version of it on here. I don't think it would actually come into, but like it bothered me for years and years, and so I've got to check it out again, right? Okay. Up next we have the Bourne series on 4K. This is all 5 Bourne films. I've seen the first 3. I've never seen the other 2, so upgraded up, really slim on the shelf, and so I will finally get a chance to check out all the Bourne films, including the other ones, because my DVDs of the Bourne movies are gigantic. They came in this really thick box, and I was like, I don't like the box all that much, but it takes up so much space, and it's actually too tall for some shelves. It's really frustrating. Here's another thing that got damaged in shipping. We have the Fast and the Furious 8 film collection. This is 1 through 8. There's a really big dent in the cardboard on that corner, as you can see. Very frustrating to be a physical media collector when everything has to be shipped poorly to your home. But as the aforementioned one, I like or love a good number of the early films. They're nostalgia pieces. Some of them are guilty pleasures, but I think once they hit 5, they just start being that B movie with an A movie budget. If these movies are made for like $50,000 and they were as goofy and silly as they were, people would praise them for being goofy and silly. But because they're made with a $200 million budget, people seem to expect a higher tier of quality, when it's like, well, we can give you the zanier stuff, but like, this is the movie you were gonna get, was this kind of grindhouse B-movie style thing, and I think Fast and the Furious does a good job with that. Okay, moving along. I think we might be in the home stretch. I don't know. We'll find out together. Up next here, we have the limited edition 4K Blu-ray collection for the Resident Evil films. It's actually kind of cool because it has this little top part that comes up, and then each of the films has a sleeve that kind of comes out and takes a look inside there as well. My copy of the final chapter is actually not in here because I have that sitting upstairs. Resident Evil movies. This is the 6 Paul W.S. Anderson written films. They're guilty pleasures. I know that they're not good. I can see the faults on the walls, but I do find them highly entertaining. To be honest, I've probably watched them more than I've played the video games. The video games I have played for Resident Evil, I've really loved all of them. I just never had, like, a lot of the times they would be PlayStation ones and I didn't have a PlayStation, or it was hard to kind of get a copy to play. And they were kind of expensive too. They never really dropped in price. They were kind of like the Mario of like horror games, and that like you were never going to get it cheaper than $60, and I didn't have that kind of money. So yeah, definitely worth putting in my collection again, I think. Here's one that I think we all can agree is worth putting in there, is the Dark Knight trilogy. This is 4Ks and Blu-rays of Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. Batman Begins, I viewed it as a prequel to the Michael Keaton film when it first came out. And I think that might have been the original intention before it kind of went its own way, because it felt like it was dogging out the idea of the Joker showing up in the next film, which would have been Jack Nicholson. I love Batman Begins and The Dark Knight probably equally. Rises isn't as good, but it's fine. It's watchable, and I think there's some great stuff in Rises. My biggest problem with the film is I think that the ending, I don't like the ending of the movie. I like my headcanon of what the ending is, and maybe one day we'll talk about that, but I like the I like the movie. Here's how you do it. They got The Mist in 4K. This is Frank Darabont's third Stephen King adaptation that was a full feature. This has the color version, the black and white version, all documentaries, all supplemental materials. It's jammed in here, and actually if you feel this, it's not going to be easy for me to show here, but like, this is a thick 4K pack. It is, I think, a 4-disc 4K pack of this. This is an excellent combination of items here. Each of the versions of the film gets its own disc, so you can really deep dive into it right there. This is a phenomenal set. I can't wait to dive into that one. Up next, I got a Blu-ray of The Blackening. This was the comedy film that I really dug last year. Came out in 2022 to festivals, hit wide release last year. I liked The Blackening quite a bit. It plays off that trope, the horror movie trope, that in horror movies the black person dies first. It's not 100% true, but it is enough where it's become part of that kind of like the legend. And so I like that this movie kind of busts apart some of the myths of it, but also kind of celebrates horror movies. You know, the idea I love, it's not on the, oh wait, no, it is. We can't all die first. I think it's a really funny tagline for this movie. I think it's very, very funny. We can't all die first. I think is really, that's really clever. I can't wait for the sequel to The Blackening. It doesn't fully take advantage of its limited resources, but for what it does have on display, I quite liked it. Okay, I think, yeah, let's do these. So we have the 3-film collection, the original X-Men trilogy. This is X-Men X2 and The Last Stand. We also have the X-Men Beginnings trilogy, which isn't entirely fair because it also starts a different timeline. So, like, canonically speaking, it's not the beginnings of these ones. Or it kind of is for a little bit, and then it departs. It's very confusing. Yeah, they didn't do, like, a full 10-film box set of these, but I figured these ones, getting the 6 of those was definitely worth hitting up right there. Here's another movie that I think might be in that rotation of holiday classics soon. Violent Night. This is the 4K of the Santa Die Hard film, is what they've called it. David Harbour's really great as Santa Claus. It starts off with some humor that I didn't find appealing, which I don't like vomit humor. I think vomit humor is just vulgar, and it never makes me laugh. And there's a few of my favorite comedies of all time that have started with it and then not done it. This one starts with some of the vulgar, unfunny stuff, and then I think once it kicks into gear with the story, it's a lot of fun. So another Nolan film over here. We have Inception on 4K, definitely worth upgrading. I picked up Inception on Blu-ray. Was one of the first Blu-rays I picked up actually when I got my player and was getting movies. One of them was Inception, so it was kind of cool to come full circle there. We also have 2001: A Space Odyssey. Kubrick on 4K. I can't go wrong. I think this is one of his most visually stunning films. I really loved watching it in 4K. I showed this to my wife actually because she'd never seen it before. So we watched it a couple weeks back, and I think she really dug it. She didn't talk for a while afterwards, but I think that's kind of the response to Kubrick. Hacksaw Ridge. This is for me one of the best movies from 2016 when it was released. I adored Hacksaw Ridge. When people talk about like, Kyle, why do you bash faith-based movies? Because I am a person of faith. So like, why do I bash on these hate-based or faith-based movies? It's because more often than not, they don't ring true. They don't ring true. They ring an idealized version. But they don't ring true. And this is like when I talk about great faith-based movies, Hacksaw Ridge. The story of the soldier who said, I'm not going to pick up a gun, but I'll help save as many lives as I can. The trials and tribulations he dealt with on the way to that, and then this incredible action set piece where he's trying to save as many people as he can without firing or carrying a weapon. Hacksaw Ridge is so damn good. Also got a 4K of Knives Out. Knives Out, I had like a disc of the film, but I didn't actually have like an actual hard copy of it. I had a disc that I'd picked up like secondhand, so I just wanted to kind of get a case for it actually and have it on 4K instead of Blu-ray. Knives Out's really good. I hope they bring out Glass Onion in the third film and put them on some sort of physical media. I hope. Criterion maybe. Somebody step in. Up next we have Speed on 4K. This is maybe my favorite. Well, I don't want to say it's maybe my favorite action film. Is that probably Lethal Weapon 2? Definitely top 5 favorite action films of all time. Speed. I think this is an incredible movie. I actually love the soundtrack to this film so much that I recorded it. I recorded it onto a cassette recorder so I could listen to the dun, 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 when I was going to school. Yeah, I was telling my wife that story last night. She thought that was absolutely insane. Clockwork Orange. This used to be my favorite Stanley Kubrick film. Upon rewatch, it dropped a couple notches, but I'd never seen a film like it before. Some friends and I rented that and Taxi Driver and watched them from like midnight to 4 a.m. when I was in high school, and it just blew my mind. We have the Super Mario Brothers movie. It's likable, fun entertainment. It's fluffy. It's not a lot of substance to Super Mario Brothers. But I liked, it's weird, like, it's definitely nostalgia porn, if you will. It's member berries. It's the kind of, movie that I don't think has any real substance whatsoever. They could have done something cool with it, but instead they just kind of, they give you exactly what a Mario movie might seem to be. They maybe tease a few too many spin-offs instead of just focusing on the Mario stuff itself. But I think so much of the cast is so great. I think Jack Black actually won me over as Bowser. I think Anya Taylor-Joy is perfect as Peach. Perfect. Charlie Day as Luigi. I can't wait for a Luigi's Mansion spinoff. Toad, I think, is Keegan-Michael Key, which I think is really, really funny. Yeah, there's some really great people involved in this film. It's not a perfect movie, but every time I watch it, I enjoy myself. So can't fault that, I guess, We have a 4K of 300. This movie looks better every time they upgrade it. So that's the big appeal, is that it's a good-looking movie. Low on substance, but it captures enough of the original graphic novel for me to really enjoy it. One of maybe my favorite De Palma film, The Untouchables. Yeah, I didn't even know De Palma directed this. It was just kind of like a movie that I watched once and just like I got gaga for The Untouchables. and that sweeping score, that like no 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 no, and like and like this heroic score. I don't even know who did the music for it, but it was fantastic. Oh, it's Ennio Morricone. I gotta add that to my writing workshop list. Ennio Morricone. My favorite Scorsese film, which is The Wolf of Wall Street. I love The Wolf of Wall Street. It's probably the one I've watched the most too, which is funny because it's the one that's like relatively new on his filmography when you consider he's been making movies for 50 years. But Wolf of Wall Street is a movie I saw in a nearly empty theater with one other guy, and we like slowly got closer to each other as the movie went on because we were having so much fun like engaging with the film that we ended up just moving our seats closer until we were practically next to each other enjoying it. Here's a really cool 4K set of Gladiator and Braveheart. This is Gladiator's what is it? It's the theatrical version of Gladiator and the extended cut, which is actually a pretty cool looking extended cut. I think this is one of the rare Ridley Scott films where both cuts are fantastic. It's also got Braveheart on there. Two really great epics in 4K. They're just going to look wonderful. All right, up next we have Sisu, which is sold as John Wick, but like old man John Wick. I don't know really how to sell it other than that. John Wick, he kills Nazis. It's not exactly that when you watch the movie, but it is a really fun, bloody, carnage-filled movie. And we don't need more excuses to hate Nazis, because we don't need any excuses to hate them more. But the thing is, we kind of need that reminder every once in a while of like how good it feels to take out the bad guys. And I think that's what this film does. It gives that feeling of how good it feels to take out genuinely ruthless people. All right. We've got a 4K copy of Blade Runner, The Final Cut. This is my preferred cut of the film. I'm going to keep my Blu-ray, which has all the cuts, but I figure this is the one I watch more often, so I'm going to hold on to that one. Does this have the other versions? It might actually have the other versions too. I'll find out eventually. And I also have the 4K of Blade Runner 2049. Both movies I think are incredible. I haven't seen 2049 since the theater, but I am meaning to rectify that because it's just really damn good, right? Really damn good. All right. Up next we have a Blu-ray copy of The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. My wife and I stayed up till like 3 a.m. once watching this, and became a movie that I really, really loved. It's about 3 drag queens that basically want to make their way to one of theirs, like to see one of the kids of the sons of one of the drag queens, and it's their journey across the Australian desert as they try to make it to this show so that they can make some money to get by on. Terrence Stamp, Hugo Weaving, and Guy Pearce are the drag queens, and it is fantastic. It does have some of the humor in it is I think it's in the 90s, right? 94. This movie came out in 94. I will say that if you're a person who's offended by like jokes about dead naming for trans characters, there is some dead naming jokes in the film. I don't think it's the director's stance, but it does happen, and it shocked me that it occurred in a movie like this. But I know that was 94 as opposed to 2024. This movie's 30 years old, so it doesn't also surprise me that the film has that in there. We have a 4K of Maleficent. Really, I got it because it was basically it got me free shipping on another order. Maleficent's okay. It's fine. It's not. It's the biggest problem with Maleficent is that they make her into a hero. And the second one make her into a less of a hero, so it's better in some ways, but they still make that mistake of what are you doing, like. All right, then we have a Blu-ray copy of Batman Beyond the Complete Series. I never watched a single episode of this show, but I've been getting into the Batman animated series once again. I have the Superman animated series. I've got all the movies, so I just kind of coasted into getting this as well. Let's see here. All right, we got Apollo 13 on 4K. Need I say more? Apollo 13, one of the great space true stories. It looks good. It looked good in high definition. I'm excited to see how this presentation looks in 4K as well. A great movie, and I think when we think of Ron Howard's career, when we actually look at the list, because he did so many different genres, when we think about his career, Apollo 13 has to show up near the top. But he's a man who's just delved in so many different genres that it's hard to even think about which ones he's actually done. We got Warcraft on 4K. Another movie much like Edge of Tomorrow, where I had the Blu-ray for so long that when I finally got the 4K disc upgraded, I was like, I actually have to watch this movie now. Like, I can't sit on this and keep upgrading it over the decades. So I did. I knocked it out a couple weeks ago. It's fine. It's okay. It is... The thing is, I don't think it was confusing, but I also don't think that it was made for general movie-going audiences. It doesn't make Warcraft as accessible as it could be. I didn't play World of Warcraft much. I played a little bit for like a month or two, and but I did play Warcraft 3, so like I have some ideas of the world a little bit. All right, this one is a movie. It's a box set that I know nothing about. I bought it because it was on sale, because it was from Severin Films, and because I've heard of one of the movies in it. So this is The Incredibly Strange Films of Ray Dennis Steckler. I have no idea what's in this box, other than the incredibly strange creatures who stopped living and became mixed up zombies. I've heard of that one. But there's a ton of movies in here. I've never heard of any of them other than that one. I don't know what these movies are. I took a chance on this one because I really like Severin's box sets, and I wanted to see what was going to be in this box set for The Incredibly Strange Films of Ray Dennis Steckler. Here's another box set that I picked up. This is an Arrow one. If you give me an Arrow release box set of horror series of some sort, you're almost definitely going to get me to buy it. This is Solid Metal Nightmares, the films of, Shinya Tsukamoto. This has Tetsuo the Iron Man as well as its sequel, and 6 other movies as well that I've never heard of the other ones, but I got it because of Tetsuo the Iron Man, and whatever. I'm gonna get a lot to like out of this one, I feel. So, okay, we got some upcoming Halloween films here. So we have Halloween on 4K. This is the thick case one from Shout Factory. We also have the Halloween 2 on 4K. This is the original Halloween 2 at Haddonfield Memorial. And we have the thick case for Halloween 3 Season of the Witch on 4K from Shout Factory. They just happened to be on sale. I think it was John Carpenter's birthday, and I ordered a bunch of John Carpenter films. In fact, we better throw in the other 2 that I bought with the set. They Live on 4K. This is a steelbook. And again, I don't dive out for steelbooks. I don't upgrade to steelbooks, but I had this film on DVD, and so getting it on 4K, it's a really actually nice image on the steelbook there as well. So, and then I also got the 4K of Prince of Darkness, an underrated to say the least horror film from John Carpenter. I'm a huge fan of Prince of Darkness. I like his whole Apocalypse trilogy. Very fascinating movies and very ahead of their time, you know. All right, up next we have The Mummy. This is The Mummy's Ultimate Trilogy in 4K. This right here is a terrible box. There's a bunch of different versions of The Mummy's trilogy on 4K, but all the discs are here, and they also are really hard to pull out. I'm worried I'm going to end up scratching some of these. This might be a set where I bought it to have them as backup, but also will be streaming the digital copies that came with. They also do this weird thing where they come out partly, which I think is really frustrating. So this is one where, holding the set right now, I would tell you, if you really want them, get it on 4K, but I don't think any of the sets that release them have a really good box. So proceed with caution. We got a 4K of the Godfather trilogy, and this is Godfather 1, 2, and 3, of course, but it's also, I think this also has, well, maybe it doesn't. Oh, it does have a 4K disc of the theatrical and 1991 cuts of The Godfather Part 3. So it does have the different cuts of the third film. I was always a fan of The Godfather Part 3. It's not as good as the first 2, but really, I don't think it's nearly as bad as the people out there. It was nominated for Best Picture, for crying out loud, and I do think it's a good movie. So I'll be curious to check out that version of it, though, because I've never seen that version before. So up next we have the Predator 4-pack on 4K. This is Predator, Predator 2, Predators, and The Predator. One of the wackiest naming conventions ever, where they just keep adding numbers or S's or thes to try and differentiate them. And then you have Prey, which I really dig Prey, but man, it's such a confusing thing then to have Prey be a movie in the Predator series, but not actually call it Predator in any way. I don't know. Up next, we have, this is a cool 4K set. This is the original Scream trilogy. So this is 1, 2, and 3. I think there's like 3 copies of Scream 2 in here because there's 2 Blu-ray discs, I believe. It's a very odd collection, but I really like this 3D kind of gloss feel that the box has. It actually has like some really cool cardboarding where the cracks take place. You can actually feel them. It's a great looking box set. I really like this box set. So now the only one I don't think is out on 4K is Scream 4. I don't know why that one's not been released in 4K. Maybe they're waiting until Scream 7 comes out to do it. I don't know. All right, up next we have the 4K Shout Factory Scream Factory edition of The Howling. The best of the Howling movies, quite obviously. The Howling is it's tremendous. It's terrifying. It's creepy. It's also weird and unusual. It's not a traditional like werewolf film by any stretch of the imagination. While I still prefer American Werewolf, The Howling original is fantastic as well. Up next, we have Gothic Fantastico, 4 Italian Tales of Terror. Italy horror is kind of known a lot for their giallo stuff, but also I think Italian horror, gothically speaking, excites the hell out of me. This is a box set I wasn't actually initially planning on getting, but there was a sale going on. And you know me and sales, I ordered it. So, yeah, Gothic Fantastico, 4 Italian Tales of Terror. It is from Arrow Video. It has Lady Morgan's Vengeance, The Blancheville Monster, The Third Eye, and The Witch. That's not the Robert Eggers film The Witch. That is the other film The Witch. So, up next we have Wrinkle in Time on 4K. I've never actually watched the movie before. I just ordered it because I love the book it's based on. So, thought I would finally get a chance to check it out. It actually came free with my Disney rewards pack, basically. So, yeah. Let's see here. What else do we have here? Oh, gosh. Okay. So we have a 4K of Minions. I think it's the best of the Despicable Me films. I like the idea that they're unable to speak. I think the visual storytelling of Minions is really fun. It's funny because I think the second Minions is easily the worst of that entire series. So it shows you what I really know about the world, huh? There's also a 4K trilogy of the Despicable Me films, 1, 2, and 3. The 4th one's on its way out this year, but this is the first 3. I already previously had Minions 2 on 4K. Yeah, it's all right. Let's see here. We have a 4K of Christmas Vacation. This is my Christmas movie. This is the one that we must watch every single year, and you know what? We didn't watch this last year, so I'm still waiting to take out Christmas Vacation. This is going to end up being an April Christmas movie that I watch, so yeah, no getting around that, really. Okay, so we've got a bunch of Pokemon, so I'm going to try and go through it all, but honestly, I've forgotten the order of these, so I'm just going to kind of show you which ones were added to the set. And just kind of go from there. And I'm sorry, I don't know enough about each of them because I really kind of fell off Pokemon the series during the Johto journeys. So I can't really speak to all of it. But we have the complete season of Pokemon Diamond Pearl Battle Dimension. The complete season of Pokemon Sun and Moon. The complete season of Pokemon Master Journeys. Pokemon Black and White. We have the Pokemon Black and White 4-movie collection, which has Pokemon the movie Black, Victini, and Reshiram, and Pokemon the movie White, Victini, and Zekrom. There's also Pokemon Kyurem and the Sword of Justice, and Genesect and the Legend Awakened. Also have the Diamond and Pearl original series. We have Pokemon Battle Frontier, Sun and Moon Ultra Adventures, Diamond and Pearl Sinnoh League Victories, Diamond and Pearl Galactic Battles, and Pokemon Advanced Challenge. Again, I don't remember the order of those, but I nearly have the entire series of Pokemon on hard copy right now, so might as well, right? So, all right, up next we have the 8-film series of Harry Potter on 4K. This is the 8 films. There's a 4K disc and a Blu-ray disc. I should note the Blu-ray disc, only the extended cuts of the first 2 films are only on Blu-ray. If you put the 4K in, it's not the extended cut; it's the theatrical one. But the other films are completely in 4K as well. So, okay, and then we also have Iraqi the Knockout Collection. I think it's dumb that this only has the first 4, but I don't know. Like, I don't know when they're gonna have those, and right now I'm kind of just picking up 4Ks because I think it's going away soon, guys. So I just got those because then I'd have them on 4K. All right, let's do some DC stuff. So we have Batman's 4-film collection, 1989 to 1997. This is Batman, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, and Batman and Robin. These original 4 films. Batman Returns is awesome. And I actually like the first and third one. Batman and Robin's pretty garbage, but, you know, what are you going to do? It's in the set like that. We also have Superman, the 5-film collection, as they call it. This has Superman the movie. This has both cuts of Superman 2 as well as 3 and 4, The Quest for Peace. I'm still not 100% certain if the first film is in its extended cut or director's cut. It's 143 minutes, but I thought that was 150 for that. So this might not be the extended cut of the original Superman film. I haven't dug in yet to find out, but I'm assuming that's the case. And we've got some DCEU stuff here. We got Blue Beetle, a very, very solid family-oriented superhero movie from last year. My wife, I showed this to my wife during the holidays, and she was really taken with it. She said that's a special kind of movie, and I'm inclined to agree. Also upgraded the 4K of Man of Steel. I'm not as big on that one as a lot of other people are. The 4K of Aquaman. I have a lot of fun with Aquaman. Let's see here. Yeah, okay. And then we have Mission Impossible, the 6-movie collection. This is everything from the first, second, third, Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, and Fallout. This is the 4K box set of those. I will say none of the boxes for these are all that great. This is literally just a slip cover where they stuck a 4K pack and a Blu-ray pack in the slip cover. It's kind of jumbled together like this. I don't love the box set for that one, but I had a number of different random releases for Mission Impossible, so it was nice to kind of get them all together like that. And then we also have Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. It pisses me off that I think they ended up removing the Dead Reckoning from the Part 1 from the Dead Reckoning like streaming release, but like you just released this on 4K with Part 1 in there. It's weird, but it's just going to be odd when I end up watching the movie once the Part 2 is out, whatever they end up calling that. Let's do some MCU and Marvel related stuff. So we have Black Panther Wakanda Forever. This is a steelbook release from Best Buy. I think they had one of Shuri and they had one of the other guy. the bad guy, if you will. Namor. They did one for each of them, and I just got the one that was available. I didn't really pick and choose anything like that. So we also have, not exactly MCU, but kind of in relation, Spider-Man Trilogy on 4K. This is 1, 2, and 3, the Sam Raimi films. Fantastic. I like all 3 of them. I love 1 and 2. We also got WandaVision, the complete series. WandaVision is awesome. And it's still probably my favorite MCU show. I love that Disney put out these steelbooks or just home releases in general of their stuff. So we had Loki season 1, we had WandaVision, the complete series, and then we had the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian that came out with the first release schedule, and that was spread across like 2 months or so. This April 30th, we have The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Moon Knight, and then Obi-Wan Kenobi, and the first season of Andor, all hitting 4K on steelbooks as well. So thank you, Disney, for doing that. They're releasing them kind of out of order and weird, which is just an odd choice, but I think they're doing it to kind of line up with specific releases so that Falcon and the Winter Soldier can come out before Captain America 4 does. I think that's kind of the idea. Let's see here. Okay. So then we also have... Oh, we should mention this too. Another one of these Disney 100s for Iron Man. I had the DVD of this prior, so I upgraded it. But yeah, just ugly-looking steelbooks. All right, up next here we've got Puss in Boots on 4K. I had the 3D Blu-ray, but I thought I'd upgrade to the 4K for that. They just released that along with the second film. And I also got the second film, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Honestly, losing my cat, He was an orange cat. We always thought it'd be fun to dress him up as Puss in Boots. We never got the chance to. These both helped me through a lot. We watched Puss in Boots actually the day we put him down because we thought it would bring a smile to our face and we could remember how much we loved our little orange baby. So they're special movies to me. They really are. Okay. Let's see here. Let's do some Hammer stuff. We've got a bunch of Hammer releases. Horror is used as in a lot of ways, it ends up being something that heals me a little bit. The fantastical elements of horror, I grew up with horror, so I have this kind of like nostalgic love for them. And those books I mentioned, the horror books, had a lot of Hammer related stuff. So I decided in the tail end of last year that I was going to treat myself to any of the missing Hammer, Dracula, Frankenstein, Mummy films that I was missing out on, so I did that. So we got a Blu-ray of Scars of Dracula. We have a Blu-ray of Blood from the Mummy's Tomb. We have a, we have a Blu-ray of The Mummy's Shroud. We have, I think those were some of the missing ones we had there. We also had, I had the Vampire Lovers, but I didn't have the prequel and the sequel. Lust for a Vampire, which is the sequel, or Twins of Evil, which is the prequel. So now I have the 3 Karnstein trilogy films from Hammer. So, okay, and then we have Unbreakable on 4K. Upgraded that one from my DVD, as well as finally got my hands on Glass on 4K. I still haven't watched Glass yet. I got super excited about Glass, and then I didn't watch Glass. Working my way through the Walking Dead series, I have The Walking Dead World Beyond Season 1. I just finished Season 9 of The Walking Dead, and I started Fear the Walking Dead Season 5. So I still have a ways to go in there. But I've always been a fan of The Walking Dead series. It's just there's so much of it now that I need some time. I need to catch up, because at this point, if I don't, I'm losing speed on it. Seasons are coming out faster because there's more spin-offs now. So let's see here. We got some Mortal Kombat over here. We got Mortal Kombat Legends Cage Match. This is the Johnny Cage spin-off from the Mortal Kombat animated films. I liked the 2 that I saw so far, so I nabbed this one as well. I think somewhere out there I have, is it Snowblind? Is that the one? Let's see. We also got some Star Wars films, another really ugly steelbook for Return of the Jedi. Got it because I love Star Wars, so watching in 4K is worth it, even if that ugly-ass steelbook is there. I also got the 4K for what I think is the best of the new era of Star Wars, The Last Jedi, Episode 8. I'm a big fan of that. We have The Mandalorian Season 1, the 4K steelbook of that. Final few things. These are all things that are in my current watch pile, so that's kind of why I kept them off to the side until the end here. You're going to see an unboxing video, if you haven't already seen one, for Inside the Mind of Coffin Joe. This is an Arrow release. It's got 11 films, all featuring Coffin Joe, who is a major cultural icon, you could say. Yeah, it is. I've never seen a single one of these, but I've heard things about the Inside the Mind of Coffin Joe from things like Cinemassacre, who did Monster Madness and stuff. They did a whole thing on Coffin Joe, and I'd never heard of it, but then I saw Arrow was releasing a box set of the whole thing. I should point out there was one disc that didn't work very well, so they did send out replacement discs. Make sure if you get the copy of Inside the Mind of Coffin Joe that you check to make sure that you have the working disc in there, okay? I've also got my 4K of Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice, the Ultimate Edition. A movie that I think the Ultimate Edition is a step up from the original cut of the film. Yeah, it's a super messy movie. I'm a fan of Zack Snyder's work. I think I like this more than Man of Steel. Maybe more than his Justice League. I don't know. It's a solid enough movie, but I like him as a director. It's just one that's that movie's pretty messy. Blade of the 47 Ronin. This is a direct-to-video sequel to 47 Ronin, which was the Keanu Reeves swordsman flick. I don't know anything about this. I got added this to my cart for free shipping. I needed something that would get me shipping that wasn't $10. This happened to be $9, so it was cheaper to add it to get to that threshold where I got free shipping. Here is a Scream Factory release on Blu-ray of Night of the Demons 3. I had the first two Night of the Demons films. This one's been incredibly hard to find, and Shout Factory, Scream Factory released all three films separately on physical media, so I had to get the third one. I might go back and get the first and second and the nice Scream Factory editions, but we'll see. Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed. This is another one of the Hammer films that I put on my set here. This is the next Frankenstein film that I'm going to watch. Let's see. This just came in the other day. So, The Iron Claw, the story of the Von Erichs. I'm not a big wrestling guy, but I'm a big Dark Side of the Ring guy, which is the documentary series about the wrestlers. And seeing the episode on the Von Erichs and the tragedy that they endured, this I knew was going to be something powerful. The Iron Claw is great. I wish I had a top 11 when I did favorite movies of the year, because I think this just barely clinched out of that. Let's see. We've got the complete series. The complete series of Get Smart. This was a show I watched a little bit of when I was younger. I really liked it. Just wanted to revisit it. And again, it's not the easiest show to find on streaming, so I went and got it for physical media instead. I knew I had the other Mandalorian. Mandalorian Season 2. I'm rewatching this right now. My wife hadn't seen it before, so we're about halfway through the second season. Another DC film that I'm in the middle of working through is Justice League Warworld. This is another one of the DC animated series, the Tomorrowverse, which has this film, and then I think it just has the three-part Crisis on Infinite Earths, and that's it for that world and that part of the franchise. Family Guy, seasons 10 through 14. I've always been a fan of Family Guy. I haven't watched any of these seasons, so I'm curious to see how they look, how they are, see if they work for me at all. But picked up the set because it was pretty cheap. All right, up next we have Disney's The Parent Trap, the original one, not the... Is it Lindsay Lohan who's in the new... Yeah, Lindsay Lohan was in the newer ones. This is the original Parent Trap. This is actually a Disney Blu-ray exclusive, I think, through the Disney Movie Club, which shut down. I should have been in the Disney Movie Club. Why wasn't I? Why wasn't I in the Disney Movie Club? Anyway, this shut down, but this became available on Disney Movie Insiders, which is the rewards program. And I do use that because when you buy as many movies as I do, you get whatever rewards you can out of it. Thanksgiving, the next installment of the Grindhouse franchise, which seems to appear every once in a while with a new installment. Thanksgiving's pretty good fun. I also got this set right here, Looney Tunes Best of Warner Brothers 50 Cartoon Collection. 50 cartoons from Looney Tunes. I thought that'd be kind of fun to revisit. This is the kind of the main cover that they use. And then just because I like punishing myself, I picked up the 8-film set of the Beethoven movies. I know I've probably watched the first Beethoven all the way through, but in my daycare growing up, they would show us some random portion of some random Beethoven movie. So I don't know if I'd seen it all in one sitting until recently. And now we're going to work our way through the other 7 films. I can't imagine they get much better. So anyway, guys, that will do it for this movie haul, which was November all the way through March. And we'll have one at the end of April if there's enough purchases in there, although I don't know that I'll be buying a lot of stuff in April because I just got too much already. So thank you so much for joining me with this. If you made it to the end, comment below Beethoven so that I know that you made it all the way to the finale of this video. I would love to see how many people weathered the entire video with me. So thank you so much for joining me for this. Again, let me know if any of the things that I showed off in my movie haul are things in your collection, what you think about them. Keep the conversation going. What stands out to you in this set of movies? There was a lot of stuff, so I can imagine a lot of things might have stood out. Just let me know. I like having conversations about the things that I'm adding to my collection. Long live physical media. Thank you so much for joining me. You can find all of my film reviews over at goatfilmreviews.com. You can also find Goat Film Reviews on Facebook. You can find me personally at Almighty Goatman on Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and Threads. And you can find my show Kyle and Nick on Film that I co-host with Nick Plotchuk from the St. Paul Filmcast. We have new episodes of that show every single week. I'm also a member of the Minnesota Film Critics Alliance. The link for that page is down in the description. You can find critics' reviews as well as mine down there in that area as well. So thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.